Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. Back with another Are You In? And after reviewing the hard hitting Tremonti, we're going to go with something a little bit chiller and something from earlier in the year. Tonight, I'll be reviewing the new Hayley Williams album entitled Flowers for Vases / Descansos. This is the second solo album from American singer, songwriter, musician, and businesswoman Hayley Williams, the lead singer and frontwoman of Paramore. She put out an album in 2020 called Petals for Armor, which was her first solo album, but something that kind of felt like just a little bit of an evolution of what they did with After Laughter. It was a more 80s inspired album, and honestly, it was one of my favorite albums of last year. Just a lot of really fun arrangements. Some claim it to be kind of Radiohead worship, but there are worse bands to mimic. And honestly, Hayley Williams is a beautiful singer, so I ate that album up. So when I found out that she was putting out a second album, I was mildly surprised, but really excited to check it out. This one is a lot more universal in its sound. There's a lot more diversity in Petals for Armor, but this one actually kind of eschews all that 80s sound for some nice and relaxing folk music, where of course you get to hear Hayley talk about love and relationships and love lost, crooning and crying over songs that are just absolutely gorgeous and absolutely heartbreaking at times. And for the most part, a lot of these songs do very well in setting a mood and let you just peer into Hayley's mind state at the time. My Limb is one of the more interesting arrangements on there, with a lot more rhythmic approaches, stacking guitar lines and rhythmic vocal lines, especially on the chorus. If you were trying to find one song that could have probably fit on Petals for Armor, this is that one. It also has a really interesting chord progression. I just love this diabolical playfulness of this tune. It is a kind of a sparse song, but the stacking of parts make this song a highlight. Wait On is super beautiful with its finger picking and the use of Hayley Williams' lower register as she tells this really beautiful story about trying to wait for a lover, but also realizing the futile nature of that as well if that person doesn't reciprocate. Talking about like how whether or not this person is with them, time will still go on with or without them. Just really heartbreaking, but also really reassuring at times. The chorus is talking about like the sun will come out and there will be rain at times if the sun chooses not to show up. She'll still be there. Sometimes she'll have to feel these emotions without this person. It's a sobering song. There's really not much other than this beautiful guitar pick line, so you get to feel all the emotion that Hayley is talking about. In Ordinary, also another simple yet beautiful song. Now, the guitar work isn't super crazy. It feels very much like a City and Color song, but unlike Dallas Green, Hayley uses her tenor voice to paint the picture of her growing up and not feeling like she belonged until she like kind of found this person, and she wants this person to make her feel inordinary, not like anybody else. Super heartfelt and sobering, and makes for a really emotional yet really powerful song. Other highlights on this album include First Thing to Go, which is a sweet acoustic opener. I really enjoy the melodic changes on here. So for example, during the verses, the first part of it, you have this chord progression which goes from F to C, and then the second phrase it follows instead from F to E. So you get this use of the G sharp rather than the G. Makes for an interesting chord progression. I really love the verse melody, especially the first thing to go was I. Just a lovely opener. Sicily has this bossa nova flair And it really fits Hayley's voice really well. Chord progression is gorgeous, and her approach is soft yet effective. The piano on the second verse is a nice touch, as well as the use on the outro. Over the Hills, another one of these slower songs, but a little bit more upbeat, and it shows off Hayley's range so well. The first verse being in her tenor, and then higher up as the song goes on. I really enjoy the little hummed parts, the boom ba da da ba da da ba da 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 da. Just like a really nice kind of uplifting song about we could live our lives in those hills, making for a really heartwarming song on this album. I wish that it was a little bit longer, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. How You're Doing, another really emotional song about longing for someone that you used to love, and I just really enjoyed the softness of this song. The chorus has some really playful rhythmic phrasing, so it's like, I wonder how you're doing, how you're doing now. I like the pauses in here, makes for a really interesting chorus and overall a solid addition to this album. And then finally, for my favorite songs, you have Find Me Here, which is another shorter yet simple song. The additions of harmonies on this song, it kind of feels to me like a little bit of a Mumford & Sons song, but super solid chord progression and just really sweet, knowing if someone goes away that you'll be able to find them there. Kind of reminds me of the Nickel Creek song, When You Come Back Down. However, on a CD that has 14 tracks and over about 15 minutes of material, there are some little bit weaker songs. Trigger has a nice sentiment about love and staying happy and vulnerable without getting complacent or unhappy, and the idea of people who always talk about wanting to be in love but then finding out that they don't, and the complexity of it. Of course, has some beauty in the vocals and some complexity with the rhythms. However, the verse guitar isn't super interesting. It comes off as one of the most pop folk songs on the album. The bounce feels a little bit weird, so even though it has some really interesting lyrics, the arrangement leaves a little bit to be desired. Good Grief is short and simple song about the fallacy of good grief. Again, a nice little song, but to me it is a little bit short to be memorable. Keep You Right Here, deeply emotional piano ballad. The melody is gorgeous, especially with Hayley's soft falsetto at the end. However, most of the song feels like an interlude rather than a fully fleshed idea. No Use, I Just Do. It's another piano ballad that feels a little bit like an interlude. I could see Lana Del Rey singing this one, especially the chorus. Not bad, just a little bit bland. Descansos is a guitar piano interlude with some vocals added in for some depth, but again, just kind of feels like an interlude. And then finally, Just a Lover feels like a really weird closer for what this album is. Out of all the songs on this album, this is the heaviest. It uses actual electric guitar and drums, and even though it's not a bad song, it just feels really weird in comparison to everything else that has come before. Does it destroy the rest of this album? Not at all. I still really enjoy a lot of what's there, and even though it's not necessarily the most robust in terms of complexity and diversity, there's a lot of really beautiful simplistic songs that just let you sit in the emotion, and I think there's some really interesting emotion throughout most of this album. I can really connect to a lot of these songs. For me, this is worth a full listen. I think this is close to being a play on repeat. There's a lot of songs I can definitely come back to, but I think there's just a few that aren't that long or interesting, or come off as interludes, or just come off a little bit short. That makes me pull away from saying play this on repeat. But still, really beautiful batch of songs from Hayley Williams, especially after not much time between this and Petals for Armor. So that is my time. Let me know if you like or hate this album and your reasons why. Share this with your friends, and let me know other albums that you would like me to review during this time. Don't have a lot of time to pick up new albums, but if you have something that you would like me to check out between now and January 15th, definitely let me know. And hey, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. It would mean a lot to me, and especially because I'm going to be putting out a lot of content in a very short time. It's the best way for you to be kept updated on when I put out new videos. So I'll be back soon with another album review. Until then, this is the Music Fan, and I'm signing off.